It's been just about exactly a week since I installed the bees into these new Apimaye hives. And today I'm going to be doing the first inspection of these newly installed bees. Now, I've already done hive number one, which is on the right, so I could kind of rehearse getting my process down. So the first thing I do is just check the syrup levels in the two feeders and see how much feed I'm going to have to add. Then take the feeders off and remove the broodminder temperature measurement strip. And then we'll work our way through frame by frame, starting with what I'm calling number 7, which is the one on the far left. Generally, the outer frames, number 7 and number 1, the one on the far right, won't have any wax drawn on them yet. The bees like to keep a little bit of insulation there. And so sure enough, it's got a little bit of comb beginning to be built on this frame. The whitish areas are comb that the bees are beginning to build. So I put that frame out of the way. And then the next frame I'm going to be checking will be the drone frame. That's the light colored frame. This is put in there specifically for drawing out larger comb. You'll notice the cell size is a little bit larger than the black frames. And this is for the queen to lay drone eggs into, so that that frame will ultimately become full of drone brood, which will attract varroa mites, and I can destroy those every 28 days. So here's frame number 5, and you can see this one has got comb drawn out almost across the entire area. I'll be looking for nectar in this outer frame, and we'll be expecting to find nectar and some pollen in these outer frames. And I'll also just be looking to see if there's any eggs in any of these outer frames, which probably won't be. And they're still building a lot of this comb. You can see a little bit of the yellowish pollen that's starting to colorize the wax in that frame number 5. Frame 4 and 3 are the ones that had the queen cage sandwiched between them. So there's a little spot on this frame number 4 where the queen cage would have made an impression. And then frame number 3, we'll remove the queen cage. And then I just check real quick to make sure that the queen is indeed out of there. Put that queen cage out of the way and take it away out of the bee yard so that the bees aren't attracted back to it from the pheromone there. Then I'll be looking at this frame. Number 3 is the one that's most likely to have some eggs laid in it. It is the one in the most center that the queen will be wandering around on probably. So I'll be looking for eggs. You can't really see them very well from the lighting from this angle, but I look at it from the other direction and look for little tiny things that look like a little tiny kernel of ice or of rice at the bottom of the cells. And once I see those, then I know that the queen is in fact out and laying eggs. Frame number 2 is likely to have more nectar and pollen on the outside, and ultimately we'll probably have some brood on the inner side of that frame. And then the last frame, frame number 1, I'm not expecting to see a whole lot there, but they have been building wax. There's a bee walking around with pollen on its legs, a little yellow pollen on the back legs. And these are generally the last ones that the bees draw out comb on. They kind of use these outer frames as insulation from the heat from the walls. Then I can push these frames back together again as tightly as they'll go, and they're designed in such a way to have little spacers on the ends so that it leaves the exact right amount of distance between the frames so that the bees can build comb and they can wander around between the frames, do all of their work, and have just exactly the right amount of space. So this is all done with very, very tight tolerances so that the bees are not building a lot of comb between the frames and they're not getting squished when you push the frames together, and they make wax structures that makes it easy to pull the frames in and out. And that's how these beehives are designed, to remove the frames. In nature, they will just build hanging wax structures of honeycomb that they put the brood, eggs, and nectar and pollen into. And then the last thing I do is top off the feeders with more sugar water mixture. And these feeders are designed in such a way that the bees don't even have to come out the top. They just show up underneath that little plastic cover in the center there, and they can crawl down and they can get access to this syrup without ever being exposed to the outside elements. And as a beekeeper, it's really nice to be able to come out in the bee yard and top off these feeders without ever having come in contact with the bees if I need to. And then we close up, put the lids back on. And then put the outer lid on and fasten it down. Then we're all done with that hive. We can move on to the next one. I worked my way through all 6 of these hives. And then we're done with the inspection. See you next time.